One of the things I love about spoon carving is the opportunity to work with such a specialized design tool. It has one job, it's shaped and oriented towards just doing that one job. So you'll see how the deep curve shape, does such a good job of going down inside of the spoon's bowl and taking really nice tight shavings. However, you have to keep in mind that for the spoon carving knife to perform so well, you have to put some effort into keeping it sharp, otherwise it can be frustrating work. So here are a couple of tips on how I keep my deep curve and my shallow curve knives sharp enough to make nice clean shavings like this. I work as usual on my Garrett Wade Sharpening Stones, and if you don't have a lot of experience sharpening, the first thing I would do is use a Sharpie to just blacken the bevel on both sides. This is going to be really helpful for you to see how effectively you're working on the sharpening stone to keep consistent with the bevel of the blade. Once you have your blade kind of blackened, let that Sharpie ink dry on there, and then I separate the entire blade into 3 primary areas. I use my little banana-shaped diamond file, and this area, this sort of negative curve, I treat as one, and then this positive curve, which is the part that does most of the work, I treat it as another area when I'm sharpening, and then there's a short straight section down there that I do separately. So the first and probably the easiest part to sharpen is the inside curve. I use the half moon shape on the little diamond file here, and this is where the Sharpie ink really comes in, because as you file, the Sharpie ink gives you a very, very clear feedback as to your angle. The ink should be eroded away by your file in a way that covers the entire bevel. If it's too high on the back or too low on the blade, you just need to change the angle at which you're holding it. So you'll see that area has become clean. The second area that I work on, that part I do on the stone. So here I get the knife on the stone. It's kind of vertical, but I know that there's a bevel, so I pivot it over till I hit the flat, and I tip it just a little bit more, and I make these long pulling strokes that cover that outside curve. I promise you, when you start, it's going to feel a little bit awkward, but the value of that Sharpie ink is after a couple of strokes, you look at it, and it will tell you whether you need to hold your bevel down a little bit lower or up a little bit higher. It's quite a handy little visual indicator. So do a bunch of strokes down on that area, and then when it's time to do the flat area, the same thing. You start vertical, and then you tip it over till you think you're at about the right angle, and make a couple of strokes there. Do a quick check, look at the Sharpie ink. I probably need to drop mine down a little bit more. When you're finished, you will certainly feel a little burr that's formed on the back of the blade. You can just clean that up with a couple of quick light strokes from the rat tail portion of the file. You don't want to put a back bevel on it, so just enough to remove the burr. There, my burr is gone. And then wrap it up with a couple of strokes on the stropping leather, which is how you give it a real razor edge. Remember to go backwards with the stropping, otherwise this will cut right into the leather. A couple of strokes should have you ready to go back. Nice, beautiful wood shavings inside the spoon. And my final tip is, don't wait until the knife is dull to sharpen it. It's much easier and quicker if you do intermittent touch-ups as opposed to if you wait till it's dull and you have to sort of start from zero with a dull knife. Good luck.